both done 2 lots of past life regressions and a quantum EFT session, and this is our final get together to consolidate what you've learned and to do any tapping on anything that's come up, but also for you to be able to speak to each other to get a sense of what other people get out of the program as well. And you might find that there's some similarities, particularly in, as I say, with Transform Your Life program, we're looking at soul level stuff. And when we're working on a soul level and with things that are blocking you and holding you back, and we're releasing them from past lives, and then we're looking at characteristics that you've had plus higher learning that you can apply now in this life to help you move forward. It's a really completely different place that you end up in, and you start noticing different subtleties that have occurred. So Sarah, do you want to start and tell us what you've noticed, and maybe give an idea to Celia what sort of has come up in your past lives as well?
Oh my goodness, how long's a piece of string and how much time do we have? It's interesting. I'm finding that the 2 past life experiences, one's built on top of the other. So I'm finding the second one, even though the first one was very impactful, I find the second one was also, in fact, even more deep. So I understand that the more you do it, the deeper the results are. So that's what I've noticed. This second one it's like, I feel like, I don't want to sound dramatic, but it feels like it's changed my world a bit, to be honest. I had a couple of lives. I'm a coach, and I've had a couple of times where my confidence has taken a bit of a dip. I question myself. I'm at that point in my sort of learning where I'm just finishing studies. I'm starting to get into the setting up the business and standing on my own 2 feet. And I, had a couple of experiences which really questioned me and sort of knocked me at the core. So the session was more about going in and finding places in my lives where I had success, where I had, ironically, I'd helped people in different scenarios, and what held me back then and what made me want to press the good old escape button and run away to a boring life, and how I dealt with that. And so I had a couple of lives where I helped people. I was very good at instinctively being able to assist others and being able to help others. And one particular life, I was someone who was dealing with herbs, and I was like some herbal, knowledgeable person in this type of village sort of place. And there was one particular man who was obviously quite important, and he just got sicker and sicker and sicker, and there was nothing I could do, and he died. And I really took that on at that particular life, and it ended up really knocking me a lot to the core, ironically. And I ended up just packing up what I did and stopped and just said, I felt like a complete failure. So it was so interesting for me to feel.
The higher learning was amazing, though, for that, wasn't it, Sarah?
Yeah, it was more about, I can't be all things to all people. It's physically impossible to heal everybody. It's not doable. And in that life, looking back, the guy, the elder, he had some form of cancer. So back in those days, unless I had a chemotherapy machine or something to even help, it would not have been possible. So it was very, very interesting to look back, and even changing that. Part of the regression was like, okay, so this information, you bring it in, how different will your life have been with that higher learning? And that was, wow. I mean, you don't need youth creams or anything like that, because my persona, it's like I lost years off me. I didn't look as old at the time. I was rejuvenated. I knew where I stood. I was energized. And instead of staying in the area of sort of medicine herbs, I started stretching myself and learning other things that were around me at the time. Archery, ironically, was one of the things that I was getting into. So it was like I got better as I got older, which was such an unusual concept. I thought, I like that.
And that's something that I've really loved to be able to help people do, is to see the scenario of that lifetime, the way it played out, with the blocks taking hold and the fear taking hold, and how it basically was a life that wasn't in their, that didn't step into their purpose. And then when we get to the higher learning and bring it back to that moment where he'd lost that and change it, and then take that life forward with a completely different scenario, you get to see and feel what that feels like, and then to be able to apply that to your life now. Instead of being blocked by things, you go, okay, well, how can I learn from this? How can I grow? How can I take on new things instead? And that's how you then step into your power and your passion and your purpose.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's like I feel as though I'm coming from a different place now, that this part of me is so much more stronger at my core. And I've noticed the client appointments I've had since then just have a different feel to them. Like I'm standing in my power, and if something isn't working or I'm trying something different, I'm not thinking, oh my goodness, I can't do this isn't working. I'm like, okay, let's try something else. And there's just a sense of calm around it. It's incredible. I didn't know how it was going to unfold. It was amazing.
Wow.